But anyway, it's good to meet you guys. A couple of some of the team really love working with Remote HQ. We use it with some of our clients basically. With the SEO side of the business. Sometimes some of our clients struggle with some of the technical changes, like updating metadata, for example, or giving us appropriate access for Google Search Console, Google Analytics, and you send videos, and just collaborative sometimes is just the best fucking way to do it. So it's been really nice to see some of the team being like, oh, it actually fucking works.
Yeah.
Great. As opposed to there's some other tools, but they're just a bit more painful to use. Basically, I can't remember the other ones. You download an app and there's this and there's that, and it's been great to that extent. So kudos on building an actually useful tool, and that's not gimmicky.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, and we really appreciate you guys like sending over the case study as well, because that's been really
no problem. But hey, listen, let's I leave the floor to yourself now.
Okay, yeah, awesome. I mean, this is going to be pretty straightforward. I just have a few questions for you guys regarding, the future of work, just talking about remote work, since it's such a hot topic now, especially coming from 2020, moving into 2021. We're only going to see that increase, and, remote collaboration really is our, mission, and just making that easier. So it's really great to hear that you're liking the tool for that use case. So, I'll just ask you guys a few questions, and then maybe you can just take turns answering. Like Deepak, you can go first, and then YK can follow up. And then if you guys have any follow-ups, obviously feel free to interject whenever, or if you have any questions for each other that come up. So I mean, first off, really quickly, can you both tell us what your company does, and then kind of what your teams look like, your remote teams?
Yeah, sure. So we're a marketing agency, primarily SEO. We have a totally remote team. Everybody's works from home. We've been that way from the beginning. And we of course help our companies or our clients rank on Google. A lot of our days, I guess, fundamentally are spent building links, making technical changes, and communicating reports back to clients. And that's really the core of what we do. It's fun. I like it. Hopefully so does the team. I say no one's left yet. Most people have stuck around for the most part, which has been good. So hopefully we're doing something right. And in terms of what our team looks like, we're about 25.
Great. Well, Deepak, nice to meet you. Thanks for taking time. So the pain points and sort of
nice.
How you use RemoteHQ is exactly why we built it.
Wow.
From a couple of years back. My last company, this is my third startup. My last company, we grew to about 500-600 people globally, and it was such a pain. We spent so much money flying people around. People hated it. Not everyone. Some people like to travel, but those with families, they hate it. The idea is always, how do you port a lot of the dynamic of in-person meeting, all the things that you can do and collaborate in person, being in the same room as a few other people, how do you port it virtually, right? And even today, kind of look around the other tools, right? Sort of what you see and what you get with tools from a lot of other platforms are essentially video conferencing and screen share, right? And
did a good job, dude. That's why I'm here. So kudos. Pretty great, man.
Kind of break that barrier and allow people to collaborate as if closer to being as if they're together.
I like marketing, really, and at its core, I think that I like marketing, and I found but along that journey, along that journey back when I was 14 or 15, one of the things that the problem that I had is that no one knew who I was and no one would take me seriously. And I set up a recording studio, and I discovered that there were many others that were like me, who were or had a passion about solving a problem or sharing something that they were passionate about with the world, but they didn't necessarily have the resources, the know-how, or the expertise to position themselves in a place where they could share their gift with the world. And that being able to help people with that is something that I guess that's what gives me butterflies and kind of lights me up. And I still today you kind of fast forward 10 years. And at that time, I thought I wanted to be a rapper, but I discovered that I enjoyed producing music and helping these rappers get in front of other people, maybe more than I really did about rapping itself, which was not what I saw coming at all at that stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, to be honest with you, why, many years later, I thought, what do I want to do at least for, my next few years, and I enjoyed sharing products with the world and finding a way to communicate that. So I think it's about that really, why I started Pearl Lemon, and why I still really just love marketing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great way to get to marketing.
Yeah.
What about anything to add, YK? I know you touched on it briefly.
Yeah, no, I mean, we my background, I'm a glutton for punishment. I think, Deepak, you've been running a startup of your own. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's weird. My wife keeps asking me, like, why are you doing that?
So for me, we've been remote since the beginning. Pearl Lemon, I think I first started my agency life in October of 2016 when we incorporated the company. So I guess that's just over 4 years. It wasn't Pearl Lemon then. We were remote from the beginning though. And oh God, I'm 34. I spent my 20s backpacking. So at 30, I was like, I came home, I had no fucking money, and I was back at my mum's place, and I was like, I need to make some money. Like, I'm Indian, and I'm 30, and I'm at home. That's like every social fucking taboo, like, put together. So it was just like, I still didn't want to sit in an office, basically, Casey. I was like, oh my God, it's the
awesome,
idea.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think I've just like done for a little while, and then I did try, and that was actually one of the reasons why it didn't work. My business partner, whom I started Per Traffic with, has had an office. Obviously, everyone is now remote. Great time to be in your business, but it just the glove didn't fit when we tried to work together. And that was actually really telling, because I did try and then go into an office every day. I made a commute of like an hour to where his office was. I just had a desk there, and we were starting. He had his software company, and this was like his side kind of thing and my main thing, and just didn't work. So I think there's also a cultural difference which may be breaking down now. I think as everyone's being brute forced to accept that remote is how we work. So I think there's new kinds of people that are coming online that had never considered this before, and discovering that it's not that hard actually. It's not. But yeah, I like the freedom and flexibility, and I think you get more from people. I think that you get more happiness and you get more effective people. I mean, you could argue that I've never done the inverse, so what the fuck do I know? Because it's not like I've sat in an office for 5 years and I've never ran a team in person. Not a team that's meaningful. So I don't have the I've worked for the man in an office. I know what that's like, but I've not ran a team in an office. I don't know what that's like. So you could argue that my perception is skewed, but hey, it is what it is, and I ain't changing anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I love working remotely. So what about you, YK?
I think it's like, once you try it, you would never go back. I spent a big chunk of my life in offices and in cubes, and this is much better. I will say that, obviously there are pros and cons. Truth be told, I sometimes do miss the downtime during the commute, where you actually are forced to have downtime. But other than that, I just love the flexibility. I love, I think, so I have 2 young kids. I think for folks with 2 young kids, if school related stuff, you got parent teachers meeting, what have you, or sick, just having the flexibility helps a lot. And I think, you probably say something that's interesting. I think, this is something the tech industry has slowly dabbled in over the last few years, right? Where folks can compete with Google in San Francisco or in Bay Area, New York City. They realize that they have to figure out their remote strategy. But I think COVID just essentially accelerated the whole thing. And which is great, because I think it used to, there's some amount of stigma, right?
Yeah, my sister works at Capgemini, and she's on a project with HMRC, which is like our Inland Revenue. So it's a tax man in the UK, and she's working with, I guess, a technology consultant, Capgemini, who are formerly, I think, part of Accenture or something like that. And then HMRC is very obviously traditional. And she's just like, oh, wow. Like she said, I would never have believed in remote. Now, like, I love it. Now everything is, headed in that direction at both companies, where I think what's happened is that some companies have just fundamentally seen that, hey, we make the same or more money and everyone's at home and we can cut costs, where people realize that there's no distinction between me hiring Casey in San Francisco versus hiring Casey in South Africa. And Casey in South Africa costs like $3,000 less a month. I'm just going to pay, I don't ordinarily have never considered Casey in South Africa, but I don't care anymore. It makes no difference. So I think that once all of these guys also come off furlough, or maybe they already have, I think there's also going to be a cull of costs. What's going to be interesting is when, obviously, none of these companies are going to look to reduce their fees. Why would they? They're never going to charge this. It's interesting even seeing at an academic level. My partner, she's at university, and they've all gone remote, and they've not changed their fee structure. They're still paying the same, and they're just like, and there's uproar at the moment. But I also know that they've got, like, the UK is suffering because there's no bloody international applications, which a lot of these universities get a guy from, the States will pay $30,000 a year to go to, like, Oxford, Cambridge, whatever. They're not seeing these applicants anymore. And also they probably now are like, I can stay in New York and attend Oxford University because I can just do it all remote. So I think that's also, it's going to be interesting to see how it all, when the dust settles, what happens. Yeah. So I think that it's a bit complex, but at our level, when I say our level, I mean at a sub 100 employee level, you do what you fucking want. Really, there's none of that fanfare. There's none of that PR. Not really. So, I think I'm reflective of any business owner's just going to look at it and be like, well, why would I pay? Unless Casey, we'll run with you. Unless Casey in New York is going to say, well, Casey, can you show me how you're 3 times as good as this lady who'll do your same fucking work, but she'll do it at 1/3 of the price? Because my client doesn't give a shit anymore. He doesn't need to meet you at the cap. He's like, actually, you know what? Let's just, I mean, I've even got my brother-in-law. He works for St. James's Place. They're like a private wealth management company, one of the biggest. I think they're the biggest in the UK. I don't know, whatever they have on them, but they're very old school. They're very, very old school. Everything's like, they still fax, they still send us letters and shit. Even they are like, this online stuff is cool, and all of them are using Zoom. And actually, a lot of it is driven by our personal engagements, because a lot of these old people are getting on Zoom with their fucking grandson to talk to them. So there's also like that. I just think that everything's going to turn on its head, but it's gonna level the playing field. I think it's good. I think it's going to only be good for business. I think that you don't. The truth is, I think that it's just different. There's a zebra is not a dog. So don't try and make a zebra a dog. I think that you embrace. I think it's different expectations. I think it's different expectations. I think you can emulate certain aspects of it, but you can't replicate, and they're different things. You can emulate components of it. I don't think it can be the same. I mean, the truth is that whilst it's great, humans are tribal by nature. Yeah. It's not the same having a beer on us. Yeah, I think so. I think that the people that ask that question, I think, are asking the wrong question. It's as you said, it's not the same thing, and I think that comparison is as equal as asking, or how can we make this apple turn into a pear? Oh, it's a fucking apple, dude. Like, why are you asking that question for?
Yeah, it's a good quote.
we should have that line somewhere. That should be a slogan. It's a fucking apple, man. You want an apple, it's not pear. I like your day to day, and the dynamics are very different. It's almost like the two variants would rhyme, but it's not exactly the same. You try to do it the same. You're thinking about it wrong.
No, this was so awesome, like so helpful. It was great meeting you, Deepak. I mean, we should definitely stay in touch.
Good to meet you, Deepak. Thanks, Casey. I'll talk to you guys.